Hi, I'm Cheryl and welcome to the Sewing Room channel. I'm real excited to show you this Christmas apron panel, but before we get started I want to mention to please follow me on Instagram and check out my Facebook page. Now this fabric here is by Riley Blake Designs, I believe is what it's called. The link and information is below the YouTube screen. So I'm going to show you how to cut it out and how to piece it all together. This is truly a beginner's project, so let's get started. This panel fabric is 36 inches wide across this way, so it is a 1 yard piece. It's by Riley Blake Designs and it's called Merry Little Christmas Apron Panel Fabric, and it's available in the black background and also in cream. I purchased mine off of Amazon for around $13. This section here is the apron itself, the main piece. The shorter strip here is the neckband, and the other 4 pieces are the waistbands. Usually when you buy apron panel fabric, there's always printed instructions on the fabric with diagrams. So the first thing you want to do is go ahead and cut around the edges of all your pieces. I started to cut the main part of the apron out when I realized that I could cut both the lining and the apron panel piece out at the same time. So to save time, I recommend that you do that. So bring your lining and outside fabric front sides together and place pins around all of the edges so the fabric doesn't shift while you are cutting. So go ahead and cut both pieces out. I'm following along with the printed instructions on the apron panel fabric. So they say to start with the neckband and fold it in half, bringing right sides together and pin your edge down. Then stitch 1/2 inch seam all along there. In the instructions, they tell you to bring the neckband front sides together and stitch a 1/2 inch seam and then turn it front side out. That's very difficult for me because I have one hand that is handicapped and it's hard for me to do that. So I'm going to show you an easier way. So for those of you who have arthritis or other issues with your hand, this is much easier. So now have the back side facing up and you're going to fold this edge and this edge over 1/2 inch and then press it all the way down. Now you're going to fold it in half this way and bring the edges together. And I recommend you again press it. And bringing those edges together. Then place pins along this edge and then stitch close to the edge all the way down. The instructions say to take your waist tie strips and bring 2 of them front sides together, then pin it, and then stitching 1/2 inch seam all around here. Because it is difficult for me to turn these front side out, I've decided I'm going to do 1/4 inch seam because I want to make sure I get a nice point down here. So you can either do the 1/2 inch seam or 1/4 inch seam. As you're stitching along, when you get to the corner, leave your needle down, lift up your presser foot, turn your strip, and continue stitching down to the next corner and do the same thing. This way, by leaving your needle down through your fabric, you won't lose your place. Before you turn it front side out, you need to trim some fabric off of the two corners right here. So first, cut across here, and you're going to leave about 1/8 of an inch of fabric at that little point there. You don't want to cut too close because you don't want it to come apart. And trim off some on the side, and then, whoops, there we go, back in camera, and then trim it off on this side. And also go over to this other corner and trim a little bit of it off because you want to get as nice a corners as you can. Now go ahead and go to this opening down here and begin to turn it front side out. If you had a hard time poking out your corners down here, I used a tool that looks like this. Now this is still pretty pointed and pretty sharp. Make sure you don't push too hard at that corner. You can also use a straight pin to help tug on the fabric to pull the points out. So after you've got them all turned out and your points are looking good, go ahead and go to your ironing board and press the straps flat. So now after you have pressed your edges, then top stitch around all of the edges about 1/8 of an inch from the edge. Now you're going to place the straps, the neckband also, in between your two layers. So fold the top layer back and your neck strap. This is real important. It's not a very long piece of fabric, so you want to make sure that it's not too long nor too short. So I would wrap it around your neck to see if it's going to fit you. Then you're going to place it at the top edge. And now they didn't really put any notches on here exactly where it was to go. That wasn't explained very well, but I'm going to kind of do mine at a little bit of an angle and put it out this way. And make sure that this part is inside. Okay? So then after you've got this one placed, take your waistbands, and you see where this piece is here on your fabric? You're going to place your waistbands even with that. So here it is. You want to make sure that the pointed end is inside between your layers of fabric. And just lay it down there and make sure that it is lined up properly. Once you have it lined up, then go ahead and pin it down. Then go over to the other side. Take the raw edge and put it over here on the other side, lining it up with this piece here. Before you close the apron up, make sure you've got the ends of the waist ties folded up and laying as flat as possible. Pin all of your edges, and you're going to stitch a 1/2 inch seam all the way around. On one side, indicate an area that's 5 inches long that you will leave open, and this is so you can turn it front side out. So start on one side of your opening and begin stitching. So make sure you also back stitch on each side of the opening. One last thing I want to mention while you're stitching, make sure you back stitch over the areas where the straps are in the seam. That's real important so that you reinforce those edges so they don't come apart during use. Then you also need to trim fabric off of the two corners, which is right underneath your armpits. So trim some of this off on both sides. Then you're going to take, I recommend using a small pair of scissors and cut little slits. So you're gonna just cut up to the stitch line but not in the stitch line, and you want to do it wherever there is a curved edge, which is most of the apron. So just begin going around and doing these little slits. Now reach in your opening and begin to turn it front side out. Poke your corners out. So reach back in with something pointed and poke the corners out. Press all of your edges flat after you turn it front side out. Here is my opening. So turn your edges in 1/2 inch and pin it closed. After your pressing is done, you're going to stitch around all of the edges 1/8 of an inch from the edge. And again, go all the way around the entire apron. I'm going to recommend thread colors for you to put in your machine when you are doing your top stitching. Up here at the top, on the top side and on the back side, I used red thread. Down here on the lower portion, I used black thread just on top and red on the bottom. I hope you enjoyed watching this video tutorial. Please check below your YouTube screen for other links to other apron tutorials that I have. Thanks for watching and happy sewing! I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, would you please click on the thumbs up button and don't forget to click on share to share this video with your friends. If you haven't subscribed yet, click on that red subscribe button down there in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. And don't forget to click on the bell and enter your email address so you'll receive email notifications about my latest video. I'm Cheryl and this is Manny. See you next time and happy sewing!